Welcome back to the Soul Sanctuary podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Snowden. Have you ever wondered what your purpose is in life? What am I really here for? What is meant for me? What is the meaning to all this? In today's episode, Delynn Miller, the co-founder of Pursuit Institute, and I sit down to talk about all of that. Delynn will share her wisdom on discovering the purpose of life and using your energy frequencies, we'll explain what that means too, to create a purposeful existence. This is a conversation you don't want to miss, filled with insight, inspiration, and actionable steps to elevate and discover your true purpose. Welcome, Delynn, to the Search for Soul podcast. I am super excited to have you here. I was really excited when you booked a call and have been anticipating this chat for a really long time. My first question to you is, what lights your soul up? What gives you joy? What gets you excited about life?
Oh, what a brilliant question. So first of all, super pumped to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for having this space to share and be the messenger of everything. I love it. And bringing people together. There's nothing better. So, you know what lights me up is having these conversations. Absolutely. And so for me, every time I do something on purpose, or every time I witness somebody else do something on purpose, it lights me up. It's like my drug. I'm like, oh my God, this feels so good. And I just want more and more and more of it. And so often, everything that's been on purpose for me has been deemed to everybody else to be super risky. And they're just like, how do you get pumped up to resign from your corporate job or sell everything you have and pack up your kids and your dog and your hubby and move to Barbados? Like, what are you doing? But I'm like, oh my God, not even worried about it. It's so on purpose. Like that's what lights me up. And it's just that knowingness that it's just like, I don't do it for anybody else. Like I do it. Obviously I'm watching out for my kids. But like I do it for me and for my environment, right? Like my environment is so crucial and nobody else gets to dictate what my environment looks like except for me.
That's amazing.
That was a very long-winded answer about what lights me up.
No, it's perfect.
But yeah, all the things with it.
Yeah, it's good. I just want to circle back real quick because sometimes new listeners or people that are just discovering soul work and mindset work and all the juicy things that you and I teach, they don't really understand what a purpose is and what that means in their life, what that feels like in their body too.
That's right.
So can you dive into that a little bit and give some insight?
Absolutely. So your purpose is the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning. And you will know you're on purpose, because that's the number one question. We're like, I don't know if I'm on purpose. You'll know because it feels different than not being on purpose. It feels good. It just feels good. So I can say, so I worked in corporate healthcare for 15 years. Up until 10 years ago, I was a professional ladder climber. I started working at this hospital when I was in university. And like right out of university, I get into a leadership position. And then I was like, oh, so I just need to keep going back to school and get some more letters behind my name. And then you'll give me this job and you'll pay me this. And so it's kind of really easy, right? But it didn't light me up. I was just more like, what other job can I get within the organization, right? I was just like climbing the ladder like a little hamster. But speaking of little hamsters, eventually that got really boring. And I was like, I kind of feel like I'm on a hamster wheel. Like, this doesn't light me up anymore. And what I noticed was that I was attracting in circumstances that made me pay attention to things within my work that excited me. So I'll give you an example. So one of my roles at one of the points in my 15 years there, I was in charge of all of the students in all of the corporate education. Okay. And like there was like 2,000 people across multiple sites, and I got to coordinate them, bring them together. And I got to once a month for all the new people, anybody that started new that month, we would have an orientation, right? So it was 4 days. And this is the thing, the people around you will notice too. So that once a month, during those 4 days, I would come home from work and Dave, my husband, would be like, "Oh my gosh, Dee, you are like on fire. Like you're like you're buzzing." And even to the point where I went to bed, he was just like, "Can you just like you," right? And
Tone it down. I'm trying to sleep. You're
100%, right? He's just like, "You're just a lot right now." But it was only 4 days a month, right? The other 27 days, I was like, I'm bored. Like I was basically looking for projects, and people would be like, "Oh, you're getting everything done. Good for you." And I'm just like, yeah, I get stuff done. It's what I do. I'm super efficient. I'm super driven. Like that's not my problem. But the stuff you guys are giving me is boring, and it's boring for me. It's somebody else's purpose. But it's not mine. Right. So the other 27 days, I would come home and just be like, yep, I went to work from 8 to 4. I got the kids to take care. I picked them up. Now I'm just going to do what moms do and feed them and bathe them and put them to bed and wake up again and do it tomorrow. And again, I had everything to be grateful for, but I was just incredibly bored. Like that was the only way to describe it. And it had nothing to do with it. And then it started rolling over all the areas of my life. Like it was impacting my marriage. Yeah. Like Dave was like, "Do you find me boring?" I'm like, "No, you're actually like a really amazing guy. Like I'm super pumped that we're together." Where I spend 8 hours of my day, I'm just bored. Right. So he asked me a very important question. I don't even think he realized the seed he had planted at that point. He said, "What is it about those 4 days that lights you up? Like, what do you love most about it?" And I was like, "Oh, that's a really great question." So this is for those that are listening, ask yourself that question. What is it that lights you up? Like what? And you'll feel it. It's an energy, right? So I was like, "Oh my gosh, I love meeting new people. I love bringing people together. Like I bring them all together in one room. And we have just these like-minded conversations, and we mastermind together. And I get to tell them about all the awesome things that we do, and I get to inspire them and why they want to work in our organization. We did a lot of personal development there as well, because I was like, you're going to treat your patients, right? Because a lot of them were clinical staff. I'm like, you're going to treat your patients how you treat yourself, right? So if you're an ass to yourself or in your mind, like telling yourself stuff, that's going to spill over, and you're going to be a total crap hole to our patients, which we don't want that. So maybe I didn't use the word crap hole, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like
okay, we've had other people say other words.
That's okay. I'm trying to keep it PG here. So
that's good.
So but I would inspire them, and I started just writing out everything that I loved. And then I said to myself, and here's the other question that you want to ask yourself. I said to myself, what if 8 days a week got to look like this? Like what if every day, 24/7, 365, I got to be in this frequency that makes me feel amazing, and I got to do this whole list of things that I adore, but it got to look like every day. So when I went on, for me, then I knew one of my purposes I've known since I was a little girl. I was that little girl that wanted to be a mom. Okay. I was like, I don't even know what it is about being a mom, but I was like, that's my jam. I need that in my life. And again, that's like a whole other thing, but I knew that was part of what I was going to do. But for those of you that are going, "Oh, my purpose is being a mom," and I'm like, no, you were born with your purpose. Your purpose is not being a mom. You will give birth to little humans, or you will adopt them, or however they come into your life, nieces and nephews and grandchildren, whatever. they will come into your life, and then they will eventually fly the nest. That's the way it works,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
18, 19, 20, I don't know, whenever they are, they're going to fly the nest. And I see so often, because women will come to me at this point and they'll go, oh my gosh, my kids are gone to university, or they're gone to school, or they just got married. I don't know who I am if I'm not taking care of them. And they kind of go into that, right? And it's just like, you had your purpose before you had them. You were born with it. Like, your spirit chose your vessel or your meat stick, your body that you live in, on purpose. Your spirit knew, because your spirit's always for expansion. Okay. So your spirit, when it's not in human form, it goes, okay, this is what I want to learn. These are the contracts I have. That's a whole other conversation, but like, this is what I got to get done. And the only way for me to express myself is if I'm in human form, because being in human form's like, it's kind of a downgrade. Like, once you're in spirit, like, being stuck in the body is like, it's kind of, it's tight, right? So the spirits are really taking one for the team, but they'll do it for growth. Okay. So when they enter the body, they have a purpose. And here's the thing. Sometimes that purpose is fulfilled after 5 years. Sometimes it's filled after 50 years. Sometimes it's filled after 95 years. But whenever the spirit doesn't think it's going to, it's like, I've squeezed out of this lemon all I'm going to get, it's out. And then we call it death. Like, we're like, oh, they died. Okay. And again, it's not up to us when that happens. Okay. And again, that's a whole other conversation. But the fact is to answer your question, you were born with a purpose, and it's a feeling, and you'll know it when you have it. The next step is going, I actually have the guts to do something about it. Right. Like, I knew, and so many people said, when I left the hospital after 15 years, like, super cushy, I was making $100,000, all the bells and whistles, like the benefits, the pension, all the things. And people are like, you're leaving that? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, isn't that kind of risky? And I'm like, in my mind, staying there and feeling like a hamster and not expressing myself, my soul was literally, I didn't know this at the time because I didn't have this awareness that I do now, but my soul was literally like, Delynn, we've squeezed out of this lemon. The lemon was my job. We've squeezed out of it all that we're going to get. Like, I thought my goal was to be the CEO of the hospital, but even that job wouldn't have taught me what I needed to learn, the lessons that I needed to learn. I get that now. But it's like, your spirit, it will tell you whether it's from a job or a relationship or wherever you're living. And that was the same thing when we sold everything and moved to Barbados. It was like, everybody was like, why Barbados? Like, we had never even been there before. They're like, why Barbados? And I'm just like, I don't even know. It's a feeling I have that something really cool is going to happen there. Like, I'm going to learn something that I won't learn living in Southwestern Ontario, Canada, right? Like, that's just, I just feel it. And they're like, well, it's kind of risky, isn't it? And again, I was just like, what's the bigger risk? Like, what's the worst case scenario? Because that's what everybody likes to do, right? Worst case scenario, what? I learned a bunch of really cool, awesome stuff. I have a blast, and I move back here with an awesome tan. Like, I don't know, like, that was my worst case scenario, right? Yeah. And when you're thinking of the problems, you're not thinking of the solutions. Yeah. And you're not thinking of you're not going with the feeling. You're just making decisions out of fear, right? And making decisions out of fear means you're not making decisions out of faith. And that's just the bottom line.
Yeah.
When you're on purpose and you have a vision for your life and you know where you're going, and you let that drive your decisions, not what your current status is, or what your current bank account looks like, or what your current this looks like, or your current whatever likes on Facebook. Like, if you're making decisions based on that, you've got as far as you're ever going to go, period. Done. But it's just like, you have to ask yourself, like, I don't know, what's the bigger risk? Because to me not following that feeling is 100% the bigger risk. And I mean, it's now been 10 years since I resigned at the hospital. And I specifically remember It's actually 10 years, like this month. Like, I think it
Wow.
was last week, actually.
Holy cow.
And I remember saying to my husband, because he was very like, oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this. Like his belief systems were coming in, right? Although I was super grateful he was supportive. But I was like, I said to him, I said, Dave, either way, and at that point I had a newborn and a 1-year-old. I said, either way, tomorrow's going to come. Next week's going to come. 5 years is going to come. 10 years is going to come. Like I remember writing out, what did I want my life to look like? And 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and when I was like 90, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, I encourage everybody to do that. Like cast a vision. Like,
Yeah.
what do you want it to look like? Don't put any boundaries up. I mean, mind you, did I have that I was like living on an island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean? No, I didn't. However, I had that I traveled a lot and that we were always in warm places, and that, right? So I had this vision in my mind, and I just knew, I was like, okay, if I just follow this feeling that I have and make decisions based on that feeling, and it'll either lead to my vision or it won't. So I literally have spent the last 10 years, I've had lots of opportunities. Like, even especially when I first resigned at the hospital, people just assumed that I just didn't want to work at the hospital. And I'm like, no, I just don't want to work for any of y'all. Like, I'm not, like, in my mind, I work for me. Like, I work for me. I work for the universe. I work on purpose, and
Yeah.
there's nothing you could offer me that's going to do that. So people were like offering me jobs. People don't offer me jobs anymore. People don't try to recruit me to come run their whatever department at whatever hospital or whatever. People don't ask me to do that anymore, because I mean, now it's been 10 years and I make it pretty clear that's just not what I do. I've had lots of opportunities even outside of that kind of stuff, but I just say to myself, I see where I'm going, and then I go, does this opportunity get me closer to that? Even if it's just like a centimeter closer, like a blip,
Right.
right? I'm like, it either moves me towards the goal, the vision, or it doesn't. And it's so black, and I love black and white. Like, I'm not a gray person. Like, oh, maybe. I'm like, nope, it either does it or it doesn't. So there's opportunities that I've said no to that I normally would have been like, yeah, that's a great opportunity. And I'm like, no, and it's mostly because I feel it, because I know my purpose. I know what I'm here on this planet to do. And that's evolved in the last 10 years greater than I could have ever, like, the people that I've met, the partnerships that I've made, I'm like, holy shnikes, like, I did not see that coming. But it's just about saying, this is what I want, and then doing it, and then the universe will line everything up for you. Like,
And
the law of
being
attraction.
open to it, right? Like being
Yeah,
open to whatever
100%.
comes, like whatever
Absolutely.
that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have this vision, but I'm absolutely open to this or better.
That's right. Absolutely. And when you put it out there, right? When you put it out to the universe, you say, this is what I desire, this is what I want, and then I visualize in all of its detail, right? However, I disconnect myself from the end result.
Yeah, detachment's huge. Yeah.
Detachment is massive, because some people go, well, it has to go this way. Here's my plan,
Right.
blah, 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 blah. It
Yeah.
has to go this way. And it's like, no, dude, like, it will happen. There's your plan, and then there's the plan. So
Yeah.
it's going to happen in the most convenient way possible.
Yeah.
But maybe there's a crap ton of lessons that you have to learn between here and here. But if you commit to growing your awareness and like detaching from the end result, visualizing it like it's already done, but still detaching from it and being open to however it's going to go down. And for the love of God, learn the lesson once.
Yes.
So many people that I coach, they're like, I'm ready for you to teach me step 2 or step 3. I'm ready. I'm like, well, can you do step 1 first?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
can you decide what you want and hold it there no matter what? That's step 1.
Yeah.
Step 1. That's it. When you've done that, then we'll move on to step 2.
Right.
But until you've done that, like, you haven't proven to yourself, you don't have the belief in yourself to even do step 1. But what we do is we've been programmed in a society that goes, we do this and then this and then this and then this and then this, and then we take the test and when we forget it. And it's like, that's not the human experience. It's, you're given tests every day, every moment of every day.
Yes.
And you are given an opportunity to show up as your higher self, and you either do it or you don't.
Yeah.
Black and white. So if you're reflecting at the end of every day and going like, oh, I showed up as my highest self today. I made decisions, whether it was, what did I eat today? Would my goal achieved self eat that? Yes or no? Oh, I had to make a purchase today and I actually purchased what I wanted. Is that what my higher self would do? Yes or no? Or did I settle? I'm redoing my bathroom and I really wanted these floors, but I chose these floors because they're cheaper. Well, what would your goal achieved self do that has the millions or whatever you've decided that you're going to have? I don't know. What would they do? Right? So it's like, you either did it or you didn't do it. So if you didn't do it, you didn't pass the test. And you'll be given another test tomorrow. That's okay. It's the best part about the universe. You'll get an opportunity to eat or spend money or be in a relationship or whatever to contribute to your higher goals. You'll be given the chance tomorrow. And what are you going to do? But most people will choose, 98% of people will choose to just keep making the same decisions over and over. And then when life keeps handing them the crap stick, they go, well, of course, that's why I make the decision that I make, because and it's just like, you get what you put out.
Right.
Period.
It starts with you. You don't get to blame everything else happening around you.
Cause and effect.
You're the cause to your effect. Starts with you. You have to set something that I've been really drilling down on lately is you have to set the boundaries on everything.
That's right.
Those boundaries. How does my higher self, by the way, I read something this morning that was calling it my favorite self. I love that. I was like, oh, I love that terminology. Because sometimes for people that are just stepping into this work and discovering some of these terminologies, higher self feels really like there's a huge gap, right? Where you can just, my favorite self.
That's right.
What does favorite Melissa do, right? And being that cause of the favorite version of you.
That's right.
Sees different results every single time.
Every time. And it never fails. And you will be given, remember, if you constantly just remind yourself every day I remind myself, my spirit is here to seek expression. What am I doing today that's going to grow me? Which is why every day I show up to study club with you and all the amazing 2%ers. And I'm like, that is a goal achieved move. I'm like, I show up, I grow my awareness every day. I show up and like, I look at my calendar for the day. I'm like, is this a goal achieved calendar? Is this how she spends her time? And I'm like, yeah, it is how she spends her time. If there's ever anything on there that's like, nope, she doesn't do that, then I don't do it. Whereas I used to be in the habit of being like, yeah, because I was a yes man, right? I was like, yes. And Dave would be like, why are you doing that? Like, why does your calendar like have, and then I was constantly late for everything and and I'm just like, okay, this isn't going to work. This isn't going to work, period.
Yeah.
Yep.
Back to that boundary setting, right? Being like,
absolutely.
Melissa doesn't do that.
No.
I think of, absolutely. And I know you appreciate this because you love Friends, but I think of that Friends episode where somebody's trying to eat Joey's food. And he's like, Joey doesn't share food.
Joey doesn't share food.
Joey doesn't share. And that's, my mom used to tease my dad about that because he didn't love sharing food either.
Yeah.
But it's setting that boundary. Yep. Joey doesn't share his food and he'll let you know. And
that's right.
It doesn't mean you have to be cruel.
Nope. But we have this, it goes back to our belief system. Like I used to believe if I said no, that I was being mean or I wasn't being flexible or I wasn't
being likable.
I wasn't being likable. I wasn't being like, they're not going to like me. Whereas I had to adopt the belief of, and I literally said to myself, what if every time I said no, it showed me that I like me?
That's beautiful. Yeah.
And I had to be like, so then when I started saying no, I was like, fist pump, Delynn, you love you, don't you? I was like, I do love you, Delynn. Like, like I love myself enough to protect my calendar. I love myself enough to like, when I'm with my kids, that is like sacred time. Or when I'm on date night or date day or date, like crawling into bed at night, like, yeah, my phone's there and it's got a crap ton of things on it that I need to do. That's sacred time. That's time for me. That's time for like visualization. That's like put my subconscious mind, like whatever. Right. And it's just like, you have to love you enough to do that, down to like, oh, I gotta buy this or this. What would my higher self do? Yeah, this one's more expensive, but it's what I want. And I deserve it. I love me enough to just do it. Period. Right. And it's just like love is the highest, love and gratitude is the highest vibration.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like the more you feel that love and gratitude, it's like that puts you on the frequency, and then you get to attract in, because the law of attraction, it's working for you, whether you want it to or not.
Yeah.
You'll attract in all the things. Period.
I saw somebody post, they're also a coach and motivational speaker, and I think I knew what he was getting at, but the way he worded the post was really incorrect, because he said, this is why the law of attraction doesn't work. And I watched the whole thing and I understood what he meant. Like, people think it's, if they're not getting the money, if they're not getting the love, if they're not getting the things that they desire, then it doesn't work. And he said the reason why it doesn't work is because it's your subconscious programming, which you and I teach. But here's the thing, guys, the law of attraction is always working. You're always attracting.
You don't stop it. You don't ever stop it.
You can't. It's a law.
Nope. Yep.
And you
just like gravity. I can't stop gravity.
Exactly.
Can't stop gravity. It's a law.
And so just like that, you're attracting all the time, whether it's positive or negative.
That's right.
It starts with you. If you want the positive things, there's something within you that's calling upon those negative things. And let me tell you right now, it's the way you're feeling in relation to your position in the world and how you feel about yourself and how you feel about others. That's going to attract the negative things.
That's right.
You don't want the negative things, the lack of money, the lack of friendships, the whatever it is, the bad health, then you need to get right with you. You
inside.
Need to look at yourself and go, what is it about this being that I currently am?
That's right.
That's not living a purpose, because that's usually what it is.
Yep.
That's struggling, that's feeling off, that, that I dislike about myself.
That's right.
Because I am bringing in all kinds of things I don't love.
That's right. And we think, like, and again, I remember thinking this way too. I was like, man, okay, I'm working for this like super comfy government job. I'm making 6 figures, that are allowing me to have the things. I'm buying the things, right? But then I was like, that's things that even the things that I want to have, like some of them are material, some of them aren't material. This organization is never going to pay me. Like, even if I am the CEO, it's never going to pay me the amount that I need to live the life that I want to live, period. And when I learned about frequency, I was like, and it's not keeping me on the frequency of the amount of money that I desire. So like, how's that going to work either? So it was one of those, like, get honest with yourself moments where it's just like, okay, you get on purpose, you cast a vision for your life, and the order of getting anything is be, do, have. If you want to, everybody's focused on, I got to have this, I got to have this. So that's why me leaving that job was so risky, because how are you going to pay for the things that you want to have? And it's like, oh, well, money comes through lots of different things, because it's an energy, it's the effect. In the law of cause and effect, I'm the cause. Everything I want to have is the effect. I first need to tap into, who do I need to be? Who is the person that has all those things?
Yeah.
Physical and physical and non, right?
Yes.
So
how does she act? Who
is she?
Yeah.
That's right.
Like,
that's right.
Behave, and even like, what does she wear? How does she feel? All of those things.
Yes. The being is the cause. And then the doing, like the way I'm being will set up what I do.
Right.
Like the decisions I make, the actions that I take or don't take, the things I say yes to, the things I say no to, my beingness will dictate the do, and then the have. It's just like anything in cause and effect. Like you put out the cause, by law, the effect has to take care of itself.
Yep.
Right. So if I have this here and I'm like, if I drop it, me holding it is the cause. I'm making a decision to hold it. If I then make the decision to drop it, that's the effect.
Right.
The effect took care of itself. I was holding something, I dropped it, I made a decision, and the effect happened.
Right.
So
You didn't
we
will it
focus.
down.
No, I wasn't like, oh my God, please drop. Please. I wasn't. No,
Yeah.
I wasn't. It was, I made a decision to hold it, and I made a decision to let it go. And the effect took care of itself. When we desire things like money or relationships or health or whatever it is that you desire, all of those things are the effect.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you need to be in order to get healthier? Who do you need to be in order to have that amount of money? Who do you need to be in order to have that impact or that relationship or whatever? And then that'll set up your actions, and then the effect will take care of itself. All of a sudden you'll wake up, you'll be like, dang, my relationships rock and I have a crap ton of money. And you'll be like, oh, okay, I get it. I was the cause.
Yeah. And then you can
And
be
it's
like
like,
that
it
Snoop
just
Dogg,
clicks.
like that Snoop Dogg speech. I want to thank me. I want to
That's
thank
right.
me for believing in
For
me.
me, for doing all this hard work,
Yeah.
for not giving up,
For not
right?
giving- yeah.
Like this is where it's not up to anybody else to believe in you. It's up to you to believe in you. And even, you know, even if it's your spouse or your siblings or your bestie or whoever, like it's not up to them to see your vision. When I first decided, I said to Dave, I know what I can do if I'm just not at this hospital. Like I know what I'm creating. I can see it in my mind. And he was like, I don't really know what you're doing. But I just said to him, if I don't do this, what happens? 4 days of the month I get to love my life, and the others I'm bored, and I do that for the next 15 years. Like you're the one that has to put up with me.
Yeah.
Right. And he was like, no, leave. Don't make me do it. Right. Because it's an energy that you create. Right. And again, it's up to him to protect his environment too. So, I mean, now he would say, man, that was the best decision I ever made, was letting her, like, he didn't let me, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
encouraging her to like take that action, because it's going to affect his life as well. Right.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about energy, because we've mentioned it a couple times.
Let's talk about energy.
Frequency. Let's get really nerdy. This is our favorite topic.
I love it.
What do you remember when you first heard that term about energy and frequency and vibrations in relation to life? Like, I think that we've heard it in relation to radio stations. I mean, you and I now know it's the same idea. Or like music. Of course, I've heard vibration when I was heavy into music classes and stuff, but I never realized you could harness that for this vessel. So do you remember that moment?
The very first time I was introduced to it, it was actually through Bob Proctor. There was something about that man. I loved listening to him. And the very first time, I mean, I was a personal growth junkie, but no one had ever explained it the way he explained it. And the very first time he said, everything is energy. And I've always looked at myself as like a science geek. I was right. And there was like a solid chunk of time. Like I grew up, my mom was pretty religious. But I would say, oh my gosh, I think probably when I hit like 12, 13, I said to her, I honestly don't get it. I get you've been teaching me this stuff. It doesn't align with me. I don't get what, and there was probably like a 15-year period of time where I was like, I don't know what I believe in, because maybe it was 20 years. It was a solid time. And I was like, I don't know what I believe in. I don't understand it. Science is saying this, but like you're telling me about this like God, and I can't see it, I can't touch it, I can't whatever. And I was just like, I don't get it. And what I had to do was, again, I had to release religion and
Yes.
understand that spirituality and religion are not the same thing. Like
Not
religion is very much a man-made
yes.
concept and system.
Yes.
Spirituality is like
You are.
you're a spirit. Like that's just the fact. You're a spirit with an intellect living in a physical body. And the very first time I heard that described, I was like, oh. And then Bob Proctor said, he goes, everything is energy. Everything, your energy, I'm energy, everything is energy. And we can, back in the 1930s, they developed a camera where you could like take a picture of the energy, and we call it an aura. We can like experience the energy via like sound frequencies. Like that's why like certain music does this and certain music does this. And I was just like, oh, so like I'm experiencing it. Like we've harnessed the energy into a glass tube, and we call it a light bulb. We've harnessed the energy into a wire, and we call it the internet. We harness this energy in lots of different ways, right? We can run vehicles with it. We put them in whatever, right? Like lots of different ways to harness the energy. But he said, the moment you realize you are energy and that you can harness and do with it anything you want. And I just thought, oh my gosh, like all these people that I admire and look up to, like they're just energy, and they're working with the same energy that I'm working with. So like all these people, whether it's in Hollywood or your favorite musician or your favorite author or your favorite whatever actor, right?
Yeah.
They're working with the same energy you are. They've just harnessed it and are on purpose with using that energy, right? And it's like, oh, so if I get on purpose and I raise my awareness to understand and set up systems. So I'm constantly reminding myself of the fact that I am energy, I am spirit living in this vessel. If I constantly because that's the thing is we forget, and then we don't harness the energy. And so many people will say to me, I desire this, but that seems like a lot of work. I just don't even have the energy for it. Or they'll say to me, like after an interaction, they'll be like, oh my God, Delynn, you have so much energy. I want your energy. I'm like, you have my energy.
Yeah.
We're working with the exact same energy. I just am harnessing mine, and I'm like a laser. I'm like, because
you put it on a different frequency.
That's right. That's what your goal does.
Yeah.
Like when you have a goal, when you have a desire, it's like a laser beam, like zzz, and you just like focus in on what it is that you desire. And it was like, that's all I'm doing is I'm on purpose. What used to be 4 days a month is now my every day. I only have stuff in my calendar that lights me up, period. Anything else is deleted or delegated. That's just the way I roll. And I'm so aware of my frequency and how I'm harnessing the energy and how I'm putting it out. And I'm so intentional with it. And that's really, it's like, if that's all you do in a day and you block out, there's a lot of rejecting that also has to happen because people come in with their energy, right? And it's just like, everybody knows like the energy vampire where they're like, they don't even need to open your mouth. And you're like, you need to get out of my space. Like, I can't even right now. Right. And some of those people are the person you've known since that you were 3, or your parents, or your family members or whatever. And it's just like, it's about, again, having enough awareness and love for yourself to go, my only job is to protect my energy and to harness it and to focus it in on purpose on my vision. It's my only job. That's really our only job. And you will be paid very well for it. Like, oh my gosh, you will be paid in money, but you will be paid in joy and amazing relationships and like just rewards that you couldn't have even have thought of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, right? And it's just, you will be rewarded, but your only job is to use the energy and then grow from it. When you learn a lesson, sometimes you got to be like, again, some people are just so scared. What if I use it wrong? You can't, like, you literally can't mess this up. I promise you, you can't mess this up. All you got to do is take the energy and just relax and ask for what you want, believe that it's yours, and receive it with gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Breathe, ask, believe, receive. Like, you just use the energy. And honestly, so when people are like, Delynn, what do you do? I'm like, I help people get whatever they want, whatever you want. I don't know, like anything. They're like, oh, like money. I'm like, yep, sure. If that's what you want, like, if it's a true desire of yours, sure. Yeah, let's make some money. Like I can get healthier. Yep. 100%. Yep. It's the exact same process
It's the same
for anything. Yeah. It does not matter. Oh, you want to attract in the man of your dreams? Perfect. Let's do that too. And you can be rich, and you can be healthy, and. But we're programmed to think that it's or. Like, I had a strong belief when I first started my own business, I can be a kick-ass mom, or
yes.
I can be an amazing entrepreneur and
yes.
build my dream business. It's just all of these little things that all it takes is one person that you like are well-meaning people that love us. And I mean, this isn't an opportunity to hate on them because they're doing the best they can with their current level of awareness, right? So it's like, all I needed, like, think of how many, Melissa, this probably happened to you too. I think about when I was pregnant and people would go, oh, it's not about you anymore. It's not about you anymore.
Yes.
And I was like, and I got told it so frequently that I was like, oh shit, I guess it's not about me anymore.
I got it told. I was told it so many times that I was like, wait, do you think I always think it's about me? Is that the person you think I am?
I don't what I didn't know I didn't really care what they thought of me. I was just more like, yeah, it's not about me. And I spent the first 2 years of my oldest daughter's life going, it's not about me, it's not about me, it's not about me, until finally my second daughter was born. And I was like, wait a sec. It has to be all about me so that I can guide you
them, so I can support them,
so I can actually, because if I do nothing for me,
yes,
then it's not in me to give to you. And that's actually what I want. That's what I desire.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, oh, like I actually have to pour into me, and it's not really an option. Right. So the moment I started filling my cup, that's when I was having the awareness of like, oh, this job that I go to for 8 hours. Okay. Yep. That's not serving me, because I come home and I'm a total crapshoot to the people that I love, because I have zero desire to do what I just did for 8 hours. Right. Yes. Except for 4 days a month. And it's just like, oh, these people, like there were people that I was keeping in my life because out of like nostalgia, like, oh, we've known each other since we were whatever. And it was like, that's not a reason to keep someone in your life. Like if relationships are like, it's like a bank account, like they're either making deposits or they're making withdrawals. Right. And it's like, if there's just like a bank account, if there's too many withdrawals, it's not going to work. It has to keep going. Right. So it's like when you release, whether it's the job, the relationship, the whatever, you make space. Right. So it's just like, oh, releasing this relationship that I'm holding on to for, I don't even know why, I now have more space to pour into this relationship that actually is like serving me, and that I want, that it's like part of my goal achieved relationships. Right. And yeah, and it's just like, it's where you put your energy. And some people say to me, like, I just don't have the energy for that. I'm like, no, you don't have an energy problem. You have a brilliant source of energy. You have a desire problem.
Yes. Yeah.
You have no you're not on purpose. You have no vision for your life, which means you don't know what you want. And when you don't know what you want, you're all over the map. Of course. Like, and it's not your fault. You're pretty much like, our whole society is programmed to be like this, right? Which is why 98% of people are like this. But so it's just like, that's not your fault. But now that you're aware of that, it's your responsibility to shift it, period. It's your, like, so what are you going to do? Right. So that it's like getting into and aligning yourself with the people that are going to help you to do that. Right. Like when I hired my first coach, it's not because I had the money or I didn't have any of it. It was a feeling of like, this person is actually going to teach me. Like my soul was like, do it,
Yeah.
like you do it. Like this is going to bring you to the next level. And here I thought, oh, it'll help me grow my business, or it'll help me, blah, blah, blah. It was like, it would help me do all of the things, but it was just like, dang, that like changed my whole life. My whole life will never be the same because of that one decision that I made. And my beingness made the decision, not my fear. Right. And that's just how it works every time. Every
We had a
time.
really great question this morning in the 9 a.m. study club that they were trying to figure out the difference between your intuition and speaking from your belief systems, or what we call paradigms.
Yep.
So I'm going to ask you that question. What if someone's like, yeah, you just talked about listening to your soul, but how do I know that my soul is talking and not my fear talking?
Feeling.
Yeah.
If you're speaking from fear, like how fear works is like, so we have this energy flowing to and through us. Okay. And it's in the same frequency. So let's call it X type frequency. Okay. So you've got an X type energy, and then we have a thought about when that thought hits our conscious mind, we have X type thoughts about it. And then in our subconscious mind, we have X type feelings about it. And then then we get into our X type doingness, right? And it sets up an X type result every single time. Well, the moment we have a different thought, right? So whether it's get more money, get a better relationship, get a better job, get a whatever, that's a Y type idea. Okay. So you're used to you're in the habit of X, 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 right? Well, now you've got a Y. Okay. Well, when you are in an XY frequency, this is where in the subconscious mind, which is where all your feeling is, it's like kind of chaotic. And it's like, oh, like all hell's breaking loose, right? So you start like it totally messes with your frequency. You will feel it. You'll be like, if you can quiet all of that, and honestly, just you'll feel it. If you can say, I always ask myself, is this my truth? Because again, I set up reminders to remind me who I really am and what my power is. Okay.
Right.
So I ask myself, all right, I'm feeling this way. I'm not in the habit. I used to constantly, I was just always in a state of fear, always made my decisions out of fear. Once I got myself out of the habit of being in that, now when it comes in, I feel like I really feel it, because I'm not ever in it.
Right.
Right.
You're not in that,
Right.
over cortisol, fight or flight state.
Right. Yeah. So now when it does come in, I'm like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
And I call her Linda. She's
Yeah.
just, that's all my habits. That's her name. Her name's Linda. So I'm like, listen, Linda, what's going on here? Is this our truth? And then she'll start going, but what about this? And what about this? And start telling me what I'm afraid of. Right. And I'm like, but then I say to her, like literally sometimes it's a conversation that's happening in my mind between the two of us. And I'll say, but we have evidence that that's actually not the truth. Like, and for me, money's a big one. Like I grew up in poverty and like poverty, like grew up in a trailer park. Okay. And I literally, so the money paradigm is really strong for me. So when I said to her, not only are we going to make 6 figures, but we're going to actually get to the point where we're earning 7 figures. And she was like, oh, who do you think you are? You know, remember where you came from. People are going to not like you. They're going to think you're a snob. But all the money doesn't grow on trees. Money's the root of all evil. Like all these things. Okay. And poverty is something that's like been like generational. So there's like that whole epigenetics part of poverty as well.
Yeah.
Right. So I literally have to, when I go to make a purchase or I go to do anything, really, I can guarantee she's going to come in, but she's getting better. Right. So even before I had money, I would say to her, but we have evidence that if I make this decision, if we stop making this decision, stuff will actually change in our lives. And it's not about hating on Linda. I don't hate her. I partner with her. She's like a child, right? I just kind of am like, no. Like, I know this is what we learned, but that's not what we're going to do anymore. We're going to actually just pivot and make a different decision, which is going to give us a different result. So how are we going to do this now? So we actually have evidence. And then I'll tell her about someone I know or someone I read about or whatever, that if I make this decision and we keep making this decision over and over again, that this is what's going to change our lives. And the money one was a big one. Like I was a constant, like even I'd go to a restaurant and I'd want the lobster. I'd be craving some seafood, but the chicken was $20 less. I like chicken. I actually love chicken, but I'm not in the mood for chicken. Like I really want that crab leg awesomeness that's going on. But I would order the chicken because it was $20 less. I would order things that were $2 less to save like go to the grocery store and I really like this brand of ketchup, but this brand is on sale. And I would buy that brand. I was awful. So it doesn't have to be $1 million purchase. It can literally just be a $2 purchase, a 50-cent purchase. Like if you want it, go for it. And when you show up and you like plant this, and even like I would make purchases in my mind, right? Like I would go buy the car that I really wanted. Some people are like, but I physically don't have the money. Like that's not a thing. I make them purchase in my mind.
Yeah.
I have an app that I use that I make purchases in my app. Like I get into the habit of spending money like Delynn goal achieved, right?
Yeah.
And once I change it in my mind, the moment the fear comes in, I can just say, that's not the way we do anything. Like, I love you. That's not the way we do things anymore. We're going to go with this because this is what we want. And this is the decision that's going to move us, even if this decision is going to be shorter and faster and cheaper, we're not going to make that decision because that's not the decision that's on purpose for us and is going to lead us towards our vision. And now, years and years and years and years later of showing Linda that this is how I make decisions. She's now getting to the point where she still comes in. Don't get me wrong. Oh boy, she comes in. But she's starting to believe me.
Yeah.
She's starting to be like, all right, here we go. Another opportunity. And the more you show up as your higher self, you'll attract in more things that lead you to your higher self. Period.
Yeah.
Period.
I was giggling when you're talking about purchasing things for $1 less or whatever. So a week ago, no, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, I was grocery shopping and they didn't have the kind of Greek yogurt I like. I think there was a sale and it was off the shelf. So I bought the Our Compliments version of the Greek yogurt.
Yep.
And it was awful. I didn't like it. I actually accidentally bought the vanilla kind, which was even worse because it was way too sweet. This week I went back and my kind was there, but it was pricey. And the other kind was like $1, I don't know, $1.30 less or something.
Yep.
I cheaped out and I bought the Our Compliments Greek yogurt. And guess what? It's horrible. It's terrible. It's horrible. And I'm
Sits
full
in the
of
fridge.
regret.
That's right.
It doesn't bring me joy.
Nope.
I love my yogurt parfait bowl in the morning and it has a certain taste and this doesn't taste right. And I'm kicking myself because I cheaped out. And then it was a really awesome reminder and lesson because I keep getting the ones that I need until I get them, to choose the joy. Choose what brings you joy. Is it expensive? Does it cost more? Yes, but what's the cost of joy for you? Right?
Right. Like, I was
enjoying your breakfast.
Right out of my mouth. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Enjoying that breakfast or cursing yourself because it doesn't taste right. Now you might waste a whole tub of yogurt because it really isn't the same. So
that's right.
What's the cost for you?
That's right. That's right. And it goes back to like our initial conversation of what's the actual risk? And, it's really expensive in comparison to what? Like you have to take your goal and make it small, right? So if you're like, I want $1 million. Okay. That seems like a lot. It seems really scary. Okay. Well, is $1 million, it's big and massive in comparison to what? The 50,000 you make right now? Sure. Look at Oprah or Taylor Swift or Elon Musk or Bill Gates, or they make that in like a minute.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So what? People. That's right. So is it big or is it small? Like, what are you comparing it to? And so even when you're going for something like the yogurt, it's $2 more. Yeah. But is like the $2 going to break you? Nope. Right. It's really not. in the grand scheme of things, right? And that's where even like, whether it's a $2 purchase, a $2,000 purchase, or a $200,000 purchase, what do you want? You take, especially when it comes, money's a big one, because money's the big one that comes up for everybody, whether it's like, you're going to get what you believe. So if you believe that it's insanity, then you're going to, and you'll continue to attract insanity in.
Yeah. And it's the same energy to attract the $2,000 item versus the $20 item. It's the same energy. It is just the perspective that you're coming at it from that gives it meaning and gives you the result. You can train your brain to think that $2,000 is cheap. That's cheap. Cheap as chips. That's amazing. Yep. Look how cheap this is.
That's right.
I thought it was going to be way more. That's great. And if you can do that on repeat, then eventually and pretty quickly, you can start to feel it. You're like, oh, it is actually cheap.
That's right.
You know, like it's actually worth it. The value's there. Yep. Just like the yogurt. I'm going to pay $7.99 next week for this yogurt that's gone up $2-3 in the last while, because it's worth it to me. It tastes
right. That's right. Well, and even ever since we moved to Barbados, people are like, but what about groceries? Like everything has to be imported. I'm like, well, like I'm a eat from the ground kind of person. And when they don't have to import that. So that's just not actually expensive. But I'm like, I shop, I don't even look at prices anymore. And I was like my mom programmed me to be a coupon clipper. Okay. So I was like, I went from and there's nothing wrong with coupon clippers. Shout out to all you coupon clippers. Nothing wrong with it. I just it wasn't how I wanted to spend my time. I'm like, it was actually taking up a lot of time to like look for the deal and then price match and do all the things. I was like, this is just not how I spend my time. So I just made a decision. I'm like, I eat organic foods. It was a health decision that I made. And I knew that, and people are like, but it's so much more expensive. I'm like, it's what I want. It's what I want. And these are there's certain things that I'm like, I actually like our Compliments brand. Like it actually tastes pretty good. Yeah. So I buy it. But if I want this brand, it's just like, I don't even look at prices. And Dave is used to it now. But when I first adopted this belief and then executed it, he was like, why did our groceries go up by this? Because he was like paying attention to all things. I'm like, well, that's how I shop. And if you want to shop, heads up, we eat organic now. And you go shop. Have fun. I said, that's just not how I'm spending my time. And he was like, oh, okay. And then he just got used to it. Right. But it was a decision. It was just like, that's a goal achieved decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Every time I open my mouth and put something in to nourish my body, I have a choice. And this is how I choose to, this is what I fuel my body with, period. And it helps me achieve my health goals. And it's, again, very black and white. Yes or no? Am I doing it or no?
And decide. And that's how all of it starts.
That's right.
In order to move the energy forward, in order to get the life of purpose, in order to feel the way you want to feel and be the way you want to be.
That's right.
It starts with that one D word decision. You have to decide, do I want this anymore? Do I want to ride the struggle bus, or do I want to get off at the next stop and find my real life?
That's right. Amen, sister.
Yeah.
Amen.
So Delynn, where can people find you if they want to know more about what you do? They want to know more about the Pursuit Institute and what we do together.
Absolutely.
They find you.
Yeah. So first I want to say that I adore that we've partnered together, because we are one energy, right? We have one energy source, and we're going to go further, faster, bigger, stronger together. And I'm a firm believer of that. So that part, you can go to the Pursuit website. So pursuitinstitutecc.com. I'm hanging out on all the places: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever's going to be created tomorrow. I don't know, whatever, but for sure those spots. And yeah, and honestly, like I adore talking about goals. And if you have a goal, we'll teach you how to get there. That's just it. It's this process plus so much more. I feel like we just scratched the surface. I knew we would have no problem talking today.
Full hour, no troubles whatsoever.
Done.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you so much for having me on today. It was amazing.
Thank you for being here. And I will make sure that your links and even your Calendly link to book
Awesome.
a call
Beautiful.
is in the show notes. And as always, I appreciate you and I'm so grateful for you.
Yes. Right back at you, my friend.